have chocolate and carrot. It's close enough for me.
This is an extreme example, but you look at something like OCD, where someone will do something and only because it alleviates a problem that they have, right? Someone locking the door, double checking, doing all these compulsions. They're doing them because it makes them feel better, but it's not fun to do it. And they hate the fact that they do it, but it makes them feel better.
But there's a brain reward at the end, and that's the same thing as fun.
But they hate themselves for the fact that they do it. And what I'm saying is, you may have someone who goes, oh, I can't let my crops die because whatever, they have some sort of invested interest in it, that they maybe don't even like the fact that they're doing it, but they pay maybe money to have some crop renewal, that they don't want their cow to die or whatever. And I'm not saying that it's right to try to take advantage of people, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, though, it's what ends up happening, and that's what ends up has worked. It's not to take advantage of people, but to rather sell them solutions to problems, and whether that's speed something up, whether that's, okay, they're having a problem with this, sell them the solution. Because people want the easy way out. And it's not utopian of, hey, wow, we're awesome game designers. The sad reality of social gaming right now is not about creating a super fun game. It's about how do we get people back? How do we convince them to give us money? And the easiest way to get money to somebody is create a problem. So basically, create the virus, sell the vaccine.
At the same time, you have to come back down to, I brought up Asian markets, for example, really quickly at the beginning. Tencent is a company in China that is doing so well, it will blow your mind. Like, we're talking like $400 million of pure profit in a quarter, and that is just off of 90% virtual goods, 10% advertising. They're doing strictly virtual goods sales. So I think, like I said before, I don't think Greg's model that you're talking about is wrong. It is a model that we all ascribe to some degree or another. And it's more that I think that there's a lot of room for growth there, and I think there's a lot of room for people to get engaged in a game to a degree that they care about the game and they care about their character in the world. We're talking like, obviously, I'm very familiar with Yoga. We're talking about familiarity with like, all the sim-based games where they get invested, where you get invested and you want to see your character in that world survive and succeed and get better because it's an extension of you at that point, right? And we're talking in these Tencent games. They can be first-person shooters, they can be simulation games, they can be anything really. They have like literally thousands of games on this website, and they're all driven around this concept that you buy virtual goods for a character. That can be as small as a shoe, that can be as elaborate as a gun, that can be as crazy as a potted plant. It doesn't really matter. You could do anything you want in these games that through that virtual currency system, and I think that's a model that not virtual currency, sorry, virtual goods system. I think that's a model that we're only going to see more of over here, rather than so much these. I'm going to save you time. I'm going to help your stuff out.
Is it not a cultural thing, though?
I don't think so at all. I think it's the limitation of the actual game.
Continues to be the challenge to do what you're saying in terms of making the game fun and continue it by paying, rather than a lot of people say, like, what you're describing, it's like this web of social obligation, and then people pay to see it
profiting off compulsion,
rather than playing and now I want a functional virtual item to continue in the game.
Well, the examples he just gave fit exactly the mold of what I'm describing. Okay, let's use the samples. Let's take it a step further. So you're saying, okay, so you have this character, they have a life, you have to come back to them, you have to keep them fed, you have to bring them to their job.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's not that I'm disagreeing with your model at all.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's the model I subscribe to. And I'm saying that I think you can apply a more enticing.
But I'm saying the utopian of it, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but like the utopian of it is, oh, I get to, and maybe I can buy some clothes for the character, and oh, this is awesome. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I mean, that's kind of the dream, but kind of, if you look at it right now, it's very similar to what exists in the fact that you go, oh, you have to go to work every 6 hours. Or maybe you can pause the clock for 2 credits and you don't have to work, you can do your own thing. So again, you create the poison, right? Create the virus, which is this time concept, and then you're selling the solution. And it's not a bad nefarious thing. It's not like, right? It's just, you use something.
You use the poison metaphor, though.
Well, because that's what it is. If it's not,
by the way, could somebody
if it's not poison, people won't pay to solve it.
By the way, could somebody take a note right now that the Microsoft guy is arguing for ethics?
is how many people pay?
Just so it's on the record somewhere.
How many people pay to avoid things, right? And have good experiences. And again, people want to speed up a game, right? That's a pain. And people go, okay, I'm willing. Why do you buy a cell phone? Because you can't talk into your hand. It's a pain. You can't talk in your hand. So you alleviate that pain by actually putting something in your hand. And that's not a nasty thing. It's basically you can't do it without that. And we're simply saying, okay, we just have to introduce those concepts. We have to kind of say, okay, time, because time is something that we can monetize, right? And since we have the ability to control good and bad things, and basically, something, okay, you have to water your crops and carb milk. Okay, well that's great, and that kind of flows with the nature of things. But even if it didn't, that would be a great thing for Zeta to add. Because now you can sell sprinklers, you can sell all kinds of different things. If they didn't do those, if they didn't have water, you wouldn't be able to sell those virtual goods. You can only convince people to decorate so much. And that's a big problem, is when most people talk about virtual goods, they only talk about the decorating side. They only talk about, oh, you sell a cow, oh, you sell clothing, oh, you sell a picture of this or that. The reality is, those don't make the most money. The most money is made from functional virtual goods.
But the challenge is the farm bill, having to water the plants, having to tend to the crops, maintain the cows, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's part of the gameplay thing. It's like what, do you remember that scene in The Matrix when they go, why did you make when Samuel L. Jackson's talking to the robot, the software, and he's going, why did you make the world this way? Why didn't you create a paradise? And he goes, well, we did the first time, and it didn't work. You guys don't like that. I think that's part of the fun of the game, is having to overcome something. Another example is there's a classic Twilight Zone episode. This guy dies, and he believes he goes to heaven, and the problem is, the casino's in heaven, he won every game on the first go. And he finally said, oh my God, I really hate this. Everything works out. There's no challenge. Send me to hell. And they couldn't even say hell back then on TV. You had to say, send me to the other place. At which point his host says, you fool, this is the other place. Ha ha ha. And that's the thing. That's half the fun of the game, is there has to be some kind of challenge.
Maybe for those 1% to 2% of people, they're just happy to coast through life because maybe their life sucks too much as it is right now.
Or they smoke.
And they're like,
or they
at least
smoke
I can control this one part of the game, and I can, instead of earning my way there, I can go leave my job, which I'm not happy with, and spend $3 and actually be able to advance things and actually feel like I'm getting somewhere. And there's nothing wrong with that. And people don't it's not like someone spends, most people don't spend $10,000 and basically just whip right through the game. Because normally these games have to be designed so you still can't advance too quickly through the game.
No,
there's
that's
no roadblocks.
Yeah.
You just can advance that, or you can buy that, or you can make that convenience. And it's more of a convenience rather than a speeding the game up. Because if you speed up too quick, okay, well, suddenly these people that are making tons of money off it are no longer around because they've got more of the game. But again, I'm not encouraging trying to rape and pillage these people. I'm just saying the realities of it are that I wish it was all noble and you could just say, hey, let's make the most fun game possible and people are just going to pay us. And you sell fun packs and people, no, it's not the reality. Some fun packs don't make money.